All righty, everybody, it's Dave Duford. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm so happy to be on the live stream. I just found out my conference call for you guys. Got to hear me pumping myself up for the call today. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope you guys are too. I always love doing these calls to help you guys, my insurance agent community, with any of your questions regarding insurance, sales, and marketing. Thank you so much for joining. This is a little unique kind of training that I do in the sense that I take your questions live on the air and ask anything and answer anything as it relates to insurance, sales, and marketing. This is a new format I started last month that was a super success. It was so much fun and useful. I got to talk to a lot of you and help you with all your questions as it comes to insurance, sales, training. Yeah, you guys hear me pumping myself up in the background. Yeah, hey, thank you. Guys, thank you so much for joining. So let me give you the scoop on how we do these calls and what you can do to play a vital role in helping this call become a success. You will notice, whether you're watching this on the screen or perhaps you received an email from me, there is an opportunity for you to call into my conference call and ask a question. So it's very simple. You click in the description box or read the email I sent out, call the number, put in the login, and you will be introduced live onto the conference call. So once you do that, I will see that you're there. And then what will happen is all you need to do is push 5-star, and that will raise your hand. And then I will ask you a question. It's really important you listen to this, guys. I know some of you, this is what I found out last time. We found out through accident. We know that some of you listen and don't want to talk. That's fine. Do me a favor. If you want to talk and you're logging into the conference call, press 5-star. I'll see you raise your hand, and we will answer your questions. Of course, people who call in get question priority first. You guys in the chat, I will ask or answer your questions as things move along. But my questioners on the phone get first dibs. So again, 5-star raises your hands. So I've got important news here I wanted to talk about. Some of you guys may know I like talking about this right here. You may have noticed in some of my videos, I talk about cat ladies. And, you probably wonder, is this kind of a joke? Is this some sort of, running joke David has? I got Mr. Kool-Aid Man in the back. And I came across a news article here that really proves the point of I've never seen a cat lady to this extent. So I'm actually going to pull this up. And for those of you who are thinking about selling insurance, especially like final expense or, even Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplements, this is a little opportunity to see what you get into. So I was messing around on, I think, Drudge Report today. And this is what I saw here. Real life cat lady. Check this out. More than 300 cats rescued from North York apartment. Animal welfare organization says. Look at all those cats. Look at all those cats. Now that, my friends, is a real cat lady. And so I pulled up some pictures here you can see of how extensive it gets. There's literally cats on the, looks like the kitchen. Probably coming out of the drain. I've also got cats. Imagine walking into this house and the smell. Imagine what it would smell like to walk into this house. Imagine you kind of see the hue here. That's probably all the cat hair that's floating around. Imagine inhaling that. Some of you out there would go into anaphylactic shock, I'm sure. This is why we don't use the bathroom. When we go on appointments, you just don't know what's going to happen. And then, of course, the cats as they stare from you from the staircase. It's pretty extreme stuff. Again, the hazards of selling final expense. So I was reading through the article, maybe thinking I'm kind of silly here, but surprisingly, if you looked at the cats closely, none of them look like they're mangled or dying or anything like that. Even there's 300 and there were pregnant ones too. And they actually had They actually didn't have any pests. They didn't have any fleas running around or anything like that. So it looks like they were kind of taken care of. This cat lady just loved cats. So proves the point. This guy's ain't a joke. It's serious stuff here. All right, let's take some questions from the chat here to start. All right, guys. I bet all of them are related, Harry. Okay, let's start from the top. Thanks for the compliment, Dave, on the hat. Chris White asked, was unable to find your video you did about in-home sales for final expense. So by the way, guys, just real quick, reminders, you guys are popping on screen here. If you got questions, real easy, press 5*. That raises your hand. It allows you to ask a question. I'm going to let a couple of questions accumulate here. So let's see here. Hey, Susan Richardson, what's up? Was unable to find your video about in-home sales, man. Just put final expense David Duford in, and you will literally come across hundreds of videos. The question becomes, what specifically do you want information on? And if you let me know, I'll kind of point the way. About the three categories that my client may fit in. Oh, you had a partial question there. About the 3 categories my client may fit in order to go. Okay, so what Chris is asking about here is the opening call of a sales presentation for final expense. Again, I teach a 4-part sales process. It's very simple to understand. The first part is rapport building and an introduction to lower the defenses and get the client to initially become friendly with us. The second part of the sales presentation is the fact-finding and pre-qualifying session. It's very simple. We fact-find and find the information about our clients to determine if there's somebody who would fit what we're looking for in a client. Then we go into the third part, which is presenting. We explain to them what our product does and why it's better than the competition. And then lastly, we ask for the business and close and handle any objections that remain. What Chris is explaining here is specifically or asking about as one of the questions we ask in the pre-qualification section. So it is potentially something I'll ask. I don't always ask this, but I always follow up with it when I don't get a satisfactory response to my primary core question. If there's anything you can take from today's training, whether you're new or experienced, you have to make sure you ask this one question, and it's this. What were your thoughts and concerns when you sent back this card, requested this information on Facebook, allowed us to come over and talk to you based off of the telemarketing call, whatever, it doesn't matter. The key and core component is what were your thoughts and concerns as to why you requested this information? Then shut up and listen. That's the most important question you'll ever ask selling final expense, and arguably with other insurance products too. Now, sometimes you won't get a detailed answer. Many times you will. It opens up Pandora's box. You get to find out all of this information that helps seal the deal. And people literally sell themselves with how they reply to this answer. But sometimes you get things like, well, I'm not getting any younger. I was just curious. Kind of cursory answers that don't amount to much. So what do you do? So this is where Chris's question comes in. You use what's called the 3-question routine. I don't know what you'd officially call it. I stole it from John Duggar. Highly recommend watching my interview with him. It's a 3-part series. Especially you want to watch the second and the third video. He's very good. Been doing this for 10 plus years, writes $250,000 approximately a year final expense, working 10 or 15 leads a week in Kentucky. His 3-question routine does this. And what this allows us to do is basically pin the prospect in one of 3 categories to figure out where they fit amongst the buying situation. There's no out here either, guys. So what this means is that they're going to choose one or the other and hopefully allow us to continue the sales process. So it sounds like this. So there's Mr. Prospect. So there's 3 situations I find my clients are in when I first visit them. The first situation is they have no coverage. And if something happens, oh my gosh, it's on the family. They got to pay the full burial or full cremation price, and they don't want them to do that. So they're looking for a plan to pay for it. The second situation is they've got a little coverage, but not enough. Prices for funerals are going up. People want to make sure they've got enough to account for prices going up. So some people send this card in because they're looking for additional coverage and sometimes maybe a better price. The third situation is they've got plenty of coverage and just want to leave some behind to a loved one. My question to you is, out of these 3 options, Mrs. Jones, which one describes you best? So what this does is it allows you to figure out, I don't have any coverage, or I have some and I want more. That's 95% of the answers you're going to get. Actually, I don't think I've ever received a third answer, like leave a legacy. It's always one or two. So the purpose of this, Chris, and anybody else listening, if you start asking those opening pre-qualification questions that I teach and you run into some difficulty, this allows you to progress the conversation further. This allows you to get to the point to where you can continue on with, what do you want to do? Do you want to be buried or cremated? What do you want your life insurance policy to do? This just allows you to continue a conversation, chiefly with people who aren't necessarily as forthcoming in the beginning. 5-star to raise hand. That's right, Andrew. Toxoplasmosis lady. It is sad. All right. Let's get here. Okay. I'm going to take some calls now. I'll get you guys that ask some questions in the chat in a minute. So let me pull over to my advice line here. I've got one call on the line. Again, 5-star raises your hands. I'm going to take questions from you now. I've got 8199. You're on advice line with Dave Duford. How can I help you?
Hey, Dave. This is Steve out in Colorado.
Hey, Steve in Colorado. What's going on, man?
Hey, well, I'm just going to, I'm a new agent or going to be new. I was wondering what type of exact material should I have on me to successfully navigate a day in the field, like doing door knocks and appointments. So I don't know. I've never had an insurance job. I've just gone into an office every day and used whatever they have. So what could I have to be successful in the field?
Sure. So guys, you in the chat, if you can't hear that, please let me know. And I think you can though, but Steven is asking, basically, what do you need to carry in the field to be successful on a daily basis getting started? So first of all, always carry the basics. Carry your applications. Carry backup applications in the trunk. Request dozens of applications. Don't be shy when you call up each life insurance company. Request several dozen apps, replacement forms, agent guides. Even request a couple agent guides because sometimes they go bad when you least need them. Okay, thank you very much. Also, make sure that you request a consumer brochure, something to show the client and leave behind, right on kind of an overview of everything. And again, backup material. If you guys are doing e-apps, you still need to do this, okay? Technology always fails when it's most needed, okay? So you may be in the boonies trying to pull up your internet access, but there ain't no internet. And you got to rely on a paper app, and you don't want to drive another hour and a half to see this guy that's away from everybody else. It'll be that happens. So be prepared for anything. I like to carry a accordion file with all my paperwork in it, a couple applications, rate guides, agent guides, everything, paper, a calculator, backup pens, everything I need. Also, make sure you carry your smartphone. Carry a quoter on you to help you electronically run quotes. Again, make sure you keep the rate guides with you just in case, but the quoters are nice and accurate. They're better than doing it longhand, and where error may be a part of what may happen. As far as other materials, that's about it. I mean, the key thing is just to keep a supply of extras. Keep them in the trunk. Always make sure you're requesting more material every month to make sure that you're full. Does that answer your question, Steve, or you want to follow up with another one?
Yeah. How about, do you do like a business card, and what do you leave on doors when you're miss people?
So I was looking to see if I have some hanging around. So I like to use what's called sticky notes. So let me explain this if you don't know what it is, as well as to the audience. So a sticky note, it looks like a delivery notice. It is a delivery notice, except they think they're getting something from Amazon, except they're getting something from you. And they call you up and reschedule you to come back over. So when you use that, you just put your name down, when you came by, you put their information and a number that they call you on. You stick that thing on the door. And then when they call you, you can pick the phone up and set the appointment, although I wouldn't recommend it. Instead, what I would recommend is just to stop what you're doing, don't answer the phone, turn around, and go see the people face to face. So the reason I like that is because they're home, right? So you've got an opportunity to see what it's all about. And when you just start explaining, hey, the reason I put that on there is because you requested this information, go into your regular script. Most people don't blow up and get mad and angry because you are there to deliver information. They requested. That's why they sent the card back. They didn't think you were going to show up, but no big deal. They need, in many cases, us to show up anyway for them to buy, arguably. So, Steve, if you want to ask another question, go ahead and press 5-star. I'm going to go to the next one here just to kind of make sure everybody gets a shot. So the next one I've gotten, by the way, anybody wants to ask a question, call the number that's in the description box of this live stream. And once you log in, press 5-star on your phone. It raises your hand, and you can ask a question. So I've got 1501. Let's see. You are unmuted. Please state your name and question.
Hey, Dave. This is Rick.
Hey, Rick.
I've had several people. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I've had several people ask me why a company would offer to buy their term life policy, and I was kind of wondering the same thing. Have you ever heard those commercials that says you can sell your term life insurance if it's over $100,000? I was just wondering what the deal was with that.
I have no clue, man. I mean, if somebody in the chat wants to explain that concept in more detail, please do so. I think what you're referring to is called life settlements, and it's where I don't really know. I think it's where a company basically buys your policy and pays the premium and takes a bet that they'll make more money on the death benefit than the premium put in, or something like that. But I'm sure there's somebody out there who knows, a little bit better than I do, because it's otherwise confusing.
All right.
Do you have any other questions, Rick?
Fair enough. That's it for now.
Okay. So 5-star raises your hands. Feel free to ask any questions when it comes to sales and marketing for insurance. Okay, back to the question here. Let's see. Hey, Keith, what's up, man? All right. Not as bad as bed bugs. Absolutely. I'll take 300 cats over one bed bug. All right. Don't go into toxic mold or cats. Not the cat's fault. That's right. Those cats look healthy, though. I bet they'll be taken care of. They look like they're good. People turn out when it comes to animals, I think, pretty well. I bet they have they have pet life insurance now with a haul to cover them all. Yeah, right. 5-star. That's right. Wilhelm. Hey, what's up, Wilhelm? Is it common for insurance salesmen to move across the country, continue their careers in another state? Absolutely. At the last outset of the show, I was actually talking about me moving to Sarasota, Florida. I've since then decided to stay here. It's been back and forth. So I was planning on moving to Florida and, I already got my license there, but the same people are there that you can sell to as they are wherever it is that you're here or everywhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Now, I would argue it's better, obviously, to stay local because you got clientele you can go back and sell to. You've got a relationship with. You can visit them face to face. But the truth is, this day and age with the internet, with the telephone, with email, you can continue a quality relationship even if you're not face to face. Okay, so it's something, yes, you can definitely do. Granite Insurance, hey, what's up, man? Quick question, Dave. I will be heading up to run some appointments with a couple of new agents soon. Mortgage protection is pretty straightforward. Most preset appointments, of course. Final expense will always have door knocks involved. One of my agents is a really big dude in his late 40s, and the others is an attractive lady in her 30s. How would you approach the door knock? How would you approach the door knock together for training? Oh, so like 3 people at a time? Just treat it the same. I wouldn't give it much thought. Just introduce yourself and say, I'm here because you sent the card in. I'm training these agents, and the reason I'm here, I'm in between appointments. Just kind of casually mention it and continue going on. If that's what you mean, if it's like a 3 at a time thing. And now feel free to follow up and clarify if you're doing one or the other and how you would train one over the other individually. Let me know. I'll be happy to clarify there. Hey, Palmer, what's up, man? A question I get quite a few people saying, I thought it was free when asked why they sent the card in. How can you get them to fill the need? So the question I would ask for you, Palmer, is are you hearing this over the phone more, or are you hearing this face-to-face more? If you're hearing this over the phone, I mean, you're going to hear it both. And then are you also getting in front of them? So is this over the phone? Is this on a door knock attempt, or is this actually in a presentation? I'll wait for you to follow up because I'll provide a little bit better clarity there. All right. Chris says, he carry a laminated copy of your license. Yes, definitely do that. I've never carried a copy of my license. Is it that important? That's a good question, Andrew. if you get people saying, I need to think about it, and you rebuttal and you never get clarity, sometimes it's trust issues. They're never going to say, I don't trust you. I think you're a con man. Most people don't have that, ability to be brutally honest. It's just hard. So people say things like, well, I'll think about it and let me pray on it or whatever. If you get that a lot, it could be a trust issue. So why would people distrust you? Well, it could be all sorts of things. It could be things you're doing or things you're not doing. So like Chris Smith's advice is good in the sense that, well, you could do show your, licensing as a part of the introductory phase. I've had agents, I've taught them to show their family members. If you got no family, show them your dog or just show them you or doing something. I don't know. Most of you people have family, maybe you and your mom or something like that. But humanize yourself. That's what you want to do in these sales calls. You want to separate yourself from the stereotype of a con man, of a salesperson selling snake oil. So utilize, things like that in order to do that, to build trust. Now, ultimately, I personally feel, I haven't showed my license in years, but I can convey trust tangentially by how I hold myself, my eye contact, my enthusiasm, my knowledge as I express it, my connection with the client. So you can do this without having a license. It's easier as a newer agent to show them these things because, again, people respond to authority, right? I mean, if you see a cop and he's wearing a uniform and a badge, those are expressions of authority. We automatically assume somebody has authority over us or has some sort of authority when they have these expressions of them, whether they're legit or not. So, like, for example, you could wear a badge, the lanyard around your neck. Somebody correct me if I said that wrong. Lanyard. Never going to get that right. Lanier. But it's the rope around your neck and the card on the bottom, and you show it to them. It looks like you're an official person. And then when you show them your license, it's got the Tennessee or state seal, and that just kind of binds it all up. So stuff like that makes a difference to build trust. But ultimately, trust is growing as you get further along in the sales process. So you could consider that. So Lucas says, what he's talking about is a viatical settlement. Thank you, Lucas. Companies can buy policies off of terminally ill insureds for a fraction of the death benefit. Okay, cool. Yep, and Chris says laminate it and put it on a lanyard. That is lanyard. Lanyard. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the English correction. Lanyard. Lanyard or lanyard? Gary, you're from Canada. It's like a tomato up there. Lanyard or lanyard. Grandin's probably from the South. The lanyard. Lanyard. All right. The Smogish says Yankee. Okay. We forgive you. The Smogish says, when you're in the middle of an appointment, how do you know which carrier to select and why? Okay. So I don't know really. I have a carrier in mind, but I'm not emotionally committed to it. Okay. I let the appointment reveal itself. When I say that, like underwriting, and then allow the underwriting to dictate at least one or two selections of that. My main goal is to sell the policy that gets the best amount of coverage for the least amount of price. Okay, it doesn't have to be the lowest price. It can be competitively priced. What I definitely don't want to do is sell somebody AIG guaranteed issue because I hate filling out Transamerica applications, okay? Unless I say, hey, you can do the 2-year wait or this, because if you let them know why you're being lazy, that's a different thing. But obviously that's not going to happen in the real world. The point is you don't want to undersell you don't want to sell inadequate coverage to your client. So make sure you don't do that. I'm sure most of y'all don't do that because you'll just end up getting replaced. Trust me, there's some other agent 3 to 6 months down the road who will come in, and as long as they're not a dope, they're going to replace your business, okay? And your client's going to get better coverage as they should deserve to. So make sure you do that. But I don't know. I pre-qualify probably within the 10 to 15 minutes in on health, if not sooner. And after I ask these questions, I'm like 95% sure in my mind which company I'm going to choose. Now, if you're brand new, you probably won't have a clue. I provide my agents a cheat sheet that helps identify which carriers they can look to. But ultimately, what you have to do is after you've narrowed it down is pull out applications for both and read through the health questions just to make sure that you actually can qualify them for the plan. You asking these questions and the cheat sheet doesn't guarantee insurability. You have to go through each of the health questions on the app and then screen the prescriptions too. All very important as well. So and here's the thing, guys. When I first started off, this is all I did. I probably spent 20 minutes going through the application, asking each individual question word for word, getting a yes or no, looking at prescriptions, comparing them to the prescription guide. I probably did that for a year or two. Now when I go out in the field, if I kind of get the cobwebs off and get into a groove, I know it all intrinsically because I've seen it 3,000 plus times. So, that's a skill set you'll develop over time. But in the meantime, it's going to take some time to get accustomed to the process and do a lot more kind of field underwriting. Let me check if there's anybody who has questions. Good. All right, got 3 people. All right, so I'm back to answering questions. The first one here on the conference call is 2788. You are unmuted. Please state your name and question. 2788.
Hi, Dave. This is Ed from Michigan, and thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, Ed, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Absolutely. Good. A couple of quick questions, if I may. What would you say would be the realistic first-year net income before taxes?
For which product?
For final expense.
Part-time or full-time?
40 hours, whatever that brings, whatever you consider that to be.
Okay, like 3 days a week. Maybe you could do 15 appointments in 3 days. I mean,
Sure.
Man, it's hard to say for sure. I mean, everybody's going to be different. I mean, I know guys that come into this business that I know one guy in Georgia, he wrote 40,000 last month, and he's in his 6th or 7th month. I know another guy in Georgia, I kid you not, he wrote 89,000 in final expense, mostly some mortgage protection in April in 1 month. This is his 2nd month, full month in the business. These are obviously freaks of nature. What I see, if a guy can do 15 appointments, that in my mind is the magic number. The consistency of business written tends to be better and more stable if you can consistently hit 15 appointments in a week. So that's 5 over a 3-day work week. You're probably going to have to work a long night once or not twice that week. But I would say if you're working, and it depends also how many leads you're working, a lot too, but if you're taking 20 leads a week, you're writing 20%, the 25% converting. So that means out of 20 leads, 4 to 5 deals. Look, if you're ending the year at, and then it depends on commission. So there are a lot of variables here. And I'm not trying to waffle here.
Right.
I just keep thinking of things to try to answer your question as accurately as I can. It's hard to. Assuming you got great commissions, you got great training, you're consistent in the field, you should be able to do high 5 figures, possibly low 6 figures. I would say it's easier, assuming everything else is true. You work hard, you see the people, and you take 30 leads a week. And when I say leads, I'm talking direct mail, probably more if you're doing something like Facebook leads. I would think that 6 figures is conceivable. Now, it may not be on a cash flow basis, because the one thing you don't have in your first year is as earned commission coming in off of months 10, 11, 12 of your contracts you wrote. Also, you don't have renewals. So you don't have as much kind of that little extra money. So you might cash flow lower than 6 figures, even though your gross commission for the year or gross first year earnings is over 6 figures. That makes sense. So yeah, it's hard to say. And again, I don't mean to waffle. It just depends. I would put it this way. If you're using 30 leads a week, direct mail, I'd want you writing at least 180 to 200,000 a year. And it's likely after deducting for cost, and then, taxes are going to be different too. It's likely that after tax, it's going to be close to 6 figures.
Okay. I'm probably like many others with some cash, but not unlimited supply thereof.
Right.
And 30 leads a week seemed steep to me to start with.
Right.
At the ballpark of 30 a lead. scale it down proportionally, I assume.
Sure. Yeah. And look,
for results. Okay.
Yeah, it's how I started when I got in this business. My personal training business was going under. I had tons of credit card debt. I could only afford, and I was just kind of dipping my toes in the water. I was doing I wanted 15 leads a week, but I only got 8 to 10 my first month or two. And then as I got into the groove, I scaled up to 20, 25, 30. So, same thing. I did an interview with Ryan Lodi. If you want to look on YouTube, you can find it. It's a great interview. Guy's 21 years old. He wrote 42 or 43,000 total last month in final expense. He's been doing this 6 months. I remember when he started back at the end of the year last year, he was starting with 10 leads a week. So there's nothing wrong with that. You take the proceeds from your sales, you put them back into your bankroll to fund your lead flow. And as you get better and as your commission accumulates and you save money to reinvest in your business, you gradually raise up the level of leads. And the truth is, in the beginning, it's probably better to stay. I don't know, going into 30 is always the right answer for a lot of people. Could be better doing 15 or 20 and then scaling from there. Again, based on budget, based on overwhelm prevention. So, you kind of have to just figure out who you are and what's best for you and then gradually raise the ante as you go.
Okay. One last quick question.
Sure.
Is it advisable to accept the 9-month advance of the commission and upfront? Again, for cash flow purposes, I know the ideal is to go as earned, but that too is not generally something that I would imagine most people could do.
Right. So, I would not be in this business if it wasn't for advances. Okay. Advances are why 95% of agents survive in this business, or at least start off. It's very, again, there are a lot of people who have been in this business 20 or 30 years. They make a significant income, and it's very easy for them to say, you should start as earned. Okay. Well, that's nice. And I wish everybody could. I would. Hell, I'm a agency. I don't want chargeback debt from advance commissions, but I also understand that most people I recruit aren't going to survive in this business because of the cash flow. It just takes too long. So I would say most likely you need to take an advance. Just make sure that you're not contracting with 10 carriers so that you spread your production around. Keep it with 2 or 3 core carriers. Make sure that when you got chargebacks, you go make sure you're consistently writing business to prevent chargebacks, and you'll probably be okay. And don't write junk business. Don't go out there and write everybody you see with a pulse. That's why I teach in my system.
Yeah.
Sell on need. Help people out. Be sincere. And pull people back from the plank. Sometimes people think they're going to spend $150 a month and they make $850 in Social Security disability. I'm going to talk them down to $50, if not less, because I know they're going to be lapsomatics. All it takes is a hot summer day to call them to cancel it because their AC is too high. So
right.
I'm gonna put you back on mute just to answer some other questions. Thanks so much. If you have another question, and for anybody else, press 5* and you can ask a question. I'm going down the list here. 5711, you're unmuted. Please state your name and question, please.
Hey, Dave, this is Andrew.
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Not a whole lot. My question, I've been in the business for 6 years, but I've been focused on Medicare and life. I started getting interested in final expense to really kind of fill in the gaps because there's a lot of gaps. But at the same time, I'm finding that there aren't enough gaps. I'm busy enough with my Medicare stuff. I'm not having the time to go out. I'm not finding the time to go out and do the door knocks. Is this a business that you really have to approach full time? I'm just not, I'm not making the inroads that I'd like to. I'm not making inroads at all.
Sure.
With the other business I've already got.
Right. Totally understand. So, Andrew,
how do I?
Oops. Sorry, Andrew. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead and ask your question there. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, how do I get around that time constraint? I mean, is it just a matter of blocking off a day and saying, okay, on Wednesdays I'm doing nothing but FE. I'm not answering the phone. I'm not doing Medicare. Is that the solution? I mean,
I mean, if I can be frank with you, I think, and this isn't a criticism as much as an observation. I think all of us suffer when we spread our focus over too much. It's enough. It's hard enough to be the master of one thing. It's really difficult to be even moderately good at multiple things. There's very few people have the capability. I don't, to be good at everything. Like me personally, I sell final expense, but I recruit final expense agents. It's kind of a natural additional activity, right? I think selling Medicare and selling final expense can prove to be extremely difficult because the final expense market, as you've probably discovered, is entirely different. Well, not entirely, but very different from a Med Sup market or even just a Medicare Advantage market where you focus on leading with those products. And so what happens is, like with final expense, you told me you've got to door knock. If you're not going to door knock, again, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying you're going to lose so many opportunities to make sales because these people don't pick up the phone anymore. And it's like this across the country. People are inundated by robocalls, solicitations constantly, and they just don't pick up. And it's most likely that if you're like most agents, if you want to yield the profit out of the lead, you have got to be in the field belly to belly, arriving unannounced. And if you don't put the time aside to do that, it's likely you'll have poor results and not get what you want. And yeah, you've just got to treat this as treat that activity as a part of the business just as much as calling it and setting appointments is. And, what does that mean? I mean, if I were, I wouldn't do this, but if I were going to split between, say, Medicare supplements and final expense, you can't do 1 or 2 days in the field in most cases. Sometimes you can, but it's just hard to get back with people sometimes that they're interested, but they're tied up. So you need to have 3 days of the week in the field and final expense at a bare minimum, I think, for most people. And it's got to be totally focused on final expense. But really, the answer is do what you do best and become the best at what you do. And that may not mean doing final expense. It may be going all in on Medicare and asking those people occasionally if they've got final expense coverage and selling that way. That might prove to be even more successful than what you're doing now. May not be what you want to hear, Andrew, but I'm just trying to shoot you straight, man, because it's what you're doing is hard, man. Most people struggle, when their focus is divided. Okay, Andrew, I'm going to put you back on mute here. Didn't hear you go away. Press 5* if you would like to jump on and ask a question. You can keep going down the list here. So I've got 1446. Please state your name and question, please. 1446.
Yeah. How you doing, David?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. This is Scott out in Riverside.
Hey, Scott in Riverside. What's up, man?
Hey, I just got batch of leads, and a few of them came in. About 9 out of 28 came in older. They're mortgage protection, but they came in like 65 years or older.
Right.
So I'm assuming I'm going to need probably a final expense carrier to
definitely
service these clients. What do you suggest is my best avenue for the carriers? Which one should I pick up on first?
So in California, it could be Transamerica, Liberty Bankers Life, Mutual of Omaha. I would pick up AIG or American General, and that's a guaranteed issue product. You'll have less of that with mortgage protection. Those people are a little healthier. Not always, though.
Right.
But what you need
I was kind of asking.
Yeah. I would say those 4 are good because here's the thing. When you sell, here's the thing. It's even though they skew older, they're really good leads, and people sell a lot of insurance to these people. Agents sell a lot of insurance to these people, but using the mortgage payment protector approach. Are you familiar with how that works?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so real quick, and I can explain this in more detail offline, but the concept is that let's say you go in and they've got a mortgage for $100,000, $150,000, whatever it is. Hopefully it's not too much higher in California. Might be, though. And you show them a term plan, like you show them, I don't know, Sagicor. They go up to 75 with a 10-year term. They can't afford that because of how expensive it is. So another strategy to show them is a final expense plan like $25,000, more or less, something like that. And you've got their mortgage amount on a monthly basis. And what you basically, the sale is like, look, if you die, your income changes, there potentially is a risk to losing the house, right? Because how are you going to make your mortgage payments if your pension goes away and your spouse has much less than what she had?
Right.
She's not going to be able to sell the house instantly. Anytime you have to sell a house super fast, you got to take a loss on it. She's going to be underwater. It's already going to be hard enough. So here's why you should buy a $25,000 plan. Your mortgage is $1,000 a month. This buys you over 2 years worth of mortgage payments. It allows your spouse to get back on his or her feet, pay the mortgage, get the house ready to sell, and make sure that she gets the equity out of the house. It's a real quick summary, but it works really well with these people. Now, you also may want to pick up Sagicor's Guaranteed Universal Life Plan. It's the same strategy, but GULs work very much basically the same as a whole life plan. It's non-med, it's more underwriting, but you get a lot more coverage, so it becomes a little easier to sell the face amount. And I think it's non-med, maybe someone in the chat can correct me, I think it's non-med up to $50,000 up to age 75, I think. So you don't have an AP, you have an APS, but you won't have a physical or exam.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had actually already worked the numbers because we are a little bit higher out here on mortgage amounts. Some of them are above 400,000.
Yeah.
So I was breaking it down to like 200 and then figuring out on monthly payments what that would be and then stretching it out, and it ran out to like 100 months or 8.33 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It does give them something that they can do, you know, and in lieu of paying the whole thing off.
Right.
My other question would be, do you suggest door knocking mortgage protection leads or calling them?
Call. Absolutely. Call. Triple, double, triple dial. Call these people up, set appointments as much as possible. I'm not opposed to door knocking them. It's just going to be logistically very challenging. You know, you're in a position where you're in LA area. The traffic's probably a nightmare. I would imagine most leads aren't close to each other. So you're predominantly going to have to focus on calling over the phone and setting appointments. That's what I would say.
Yeah, they actually weren't too bad. I did have them grouped about 5 to 6 at a time in one city, which would be maybe 30 to 40 minutes away from me. So it wasn't too bad.
That's not
if
bad.
I have the opportunity to do the between, you know, if I have the opportunity to do one or the other, do you prefer one over the other?
Call. I would definitely call. And then, yeah, if you find, because here's the thing, logistically, it's probable that the times that you would door knock, you're going to be presenting anyway, you know, so prime time for mortgage protection is essentially after work. That's when most people are home anyway, and they're usually not home to the same extent earlier. So it's likely you won't have the time to door knock. You know, you'll be calling or running appointments.
Sure. Well, I set 4 appointments out of 7 calls so far.
Oh, man, that's good. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and there's going to be, I think, 7 people at all of the appointments altogether.
Wow.
So
Okay,
between husband and wife and what have you. So
all right.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Keep me posted.
Yes, sir.
All right, Scott. Thanks, man. All right, I'm going to take a couple of questions in the chat. The chat's hot. Need to answer some questions here. All right. Let's see here. They will be separate, 2 different states. So back to Grannon's question from earlier. Grannon asked me, how would you approach training, training door knocking, like a 40-year-old male and an attractive 30-year-old female, I think he said, or something like that. Just treat them the same. There's no difference, you know. Have the lead card in hand, have the lead information in hand, shake hands, make eye contact. It's very body language oriented. Smile big, be happy-go-lucky, have enthusiasm. Don't treat them any differently. I know some guys will say if they're tall, they'd step down the stairs a little bit to kind of back out of the way. My trainer, Andrew Fike, is like 5'3", and he would open the glass door and like stick his stuff in front of the door. So when they opened, he was like there shoving the folder right in their face. I was never that kind of aggressive. I'd always step back and be cool, and so just treat them the same. I wouldn't do anything really that differently. If you have a specific follow-up question to that, let me know. 5-star, by the way, if you're on the conference line, if you're just logging into this live stream, there's a conference call line you can call. You'll see it in the description box. And if you got a question you want to ask me live, feel free to. Call into that number, enter the 6-digit number to get in, and press 5-star. That raises your hand. and I'll be happy to take your question live on air. Let's continue with the questions in the chat. Everything's going great today, guys. Thank you again so much for being here. Tina, hey Tina, do you recommend that new agents who are planning to specialize in final expense also get licensed annuities right away just starting out? You could. I would still focus entirely on final expense, and then just ask casually, what are you doing for your retirement? And you might come across somebody who loves you and they don't love their advisor or they don't have one. And if you come across that, my open invitation to you, as well as anybody else, is if you think you've got a case that might be an annuity opportunity, please reach out to me. I'll put you in touch with my annuity expert, Stephen Burgess. He'll be happy to talk you on the phone, kind of probe your case, see if there's an opportunity, and he will custom tailor a proposal for you as long as you do your annuity business. That's the only catch, of course, but we can definitely help you if you find that stuff. But I would be 100% focused on final expense, asking it casually somewhere in the presentation, oh, by the way, what are you doing for your retirement? Do you have a 401k, an IRA, that kind of thing? And if you start getting some positive feedback, collect some information about it, how much they have, what it's in, and then let me know. I'll hook you up with Steven, and then maybe you could go back and sell that one. But don't change your business model to always go after them, especially if you're getting started. It's focus is critical, the lesson of the day. Hey, Dave, what's up? When using the quoter, can I filter it to only come up with the carriers I'm contracted with, not with the one that you use through me? If you buy the product, you can do it that way and filter it to the ones you use. And the reason I think you'd ask this is to show the client what's available. I never will show it as a sales tactic. I mean, I will sometimes if I have to try to push it past to the sale. But if you have to do that, it's usually a trust issue. But if you do a good job of building trust and rapport, you don't need to do that tactic. But if you want to do it, you got to buy the product separately. And we're talking about fexquotes.com, guys, if you're interested. Very good product. It's $25 a month, and you get a bunch of quotes. It's very useful. Where do we get cheat sheets? Email me, Susan. I'll send them over to you. Ronald, hey, what's up, Ronald? Are the rates for your carriers used competitive against Policy Genius? I would assume so. I don't know what Policy Genius uses. I don't know if you're asking as a consumer or an agent. I don't know. Maybe somebody can fill me in on Policy Genius. They're the kind of a big player in the marketing business for life insurance as a brokerage or agency to sell life insurance. But I don't know what they use. I think they just use the core like Moo and Mutual Omaha, Transamerica, that kind of thing. But it's likely we have more competitive options as brokers because a lot of us guys, this is how I position my agency. I don't push a company to fill a quota. A lot of the big organizations do that recruit agents and also sell in a big way. They have a primary carrier they try to lead with because they get bonuses and get bigger commission spreads. I don't do that. So I just contract with whatever carrier I want, and I try to find my client the best combination of price and coverage. And what that allows me to do in exchange is that, boom, I'm in a position to possibly offer them a deal that a lot of these companies that lead with one particular product, even though they say the brokerage, they try to push one product preferentially if they can, I might be able to give a better deal. So if you want to follow up and clarify to kind of help you, let me know. Let me check the conference calls here. Got a couple questions lined up. I'll get to your questions here momentarily. Again, if you're just getting on the chat here, 5-star after you call into the conference call, which is in the description box below me talking. That allows you to jump on, press 5-star, and ask me a question. Okay, Pure Focus. Go to an appointment, Dave, but got to go to appointment, Dave, but just want to know some good methods of verbiage when door knocking. Okay, so real simple, man. It's about how you display yourself as much as what you say. So make eye contact. Don't do the shifty eye deal like you're up to no good. Smile. Have a little pep in your step. Don't hunch over. Stand up straight. Be open with your hands. Exude trust. Okay. And then when you speak to them, just tell them, hey, my name is David Duford, and I'm here, Mrs. Jones. Show them the card. Show them what information they requested. Is you sent this card back, or you requested this information on Facebook. Requesting information on our state-regulated final expense programs. You don't like state-regulated, don't say it. I usually say you request information about our final expense life insurance programs. And the reason I'm here is because I'm between appointments, and they send me to show you how this works. It's my job to deliver this information to you. All I need is 5 minutes to show you it. Can I come in? So I always blame someone else for sending me out here. That's always a great little tactic to use. It takes pressure off of you. Like, I'm sorry. You're not saying you're sorry, but you're saying, hey, my job is just to deliver this to you. My job, somebody told me to do this. It takes some pressure off that you're bugging them. And they're usually going to be a little more nice to you because of it. Okay, Kong Malasong, how you doing? New agent looking to get into direct mail leads. How do we select zip codes in our county to get the best response and results? Great question. So remember, final expense, assuming that's what you do. Final expense is about selling life insurance to poor people. It's a simple reminder who you need to target. So what you need to find are pockets of poverty. Now, you don't have to go to the most impoverished areas. However, you do want to stay, it's easier to explain where you want to stay out of. You want to stay out of suburbia America. You want to stay out of wealthy communities. You want to stay into blue-collar communities, older communities, and places where there's just not a lot of money. It's likely that in the city or area that you live in, you'll kind of have an idea of what that is. So target those areas preferentially. You'll find that that's where your life insurance final expense prospects are, as opposed to suburban America where people just don't, they've got money, a little bit of money, and they just have less urgency to buy the stuff. That's been my experience. And it's not just old people. It's poor old people, all right? Don't make the mistake like I did where I had 15 snake eyes in a row, and because I sold to old people that lived in a middle class and up retirement community. Bad idea. Don't do that. Don't be like Dave. So old people, poor old people. Then you make the money. All right. Metamorphosis says, do you recommend a good lead company for final expense? I'm Tampa. Yeah, okay. Metamorphosis. Check out needalead.com. Ask for fixed price leads. It's important in Florida where response rates are horrible to not do a per 1,000 mailer. Get a fixed price lead. There's a lot of different options. I like the one that's like $30 to $35 a lead. You can get some that are less and get some that are more, but that's a good balance of quality. Joe says the location of your website for setting up Facebook for leads. Email me and then I'll tell you. It's a part of my Inner Circle program. My agents have access to it. Also, people who pay the Inner Circle dues have access to it. If you'd like more information on that, go to my website, davidduford.com. Click on Insurance Agent Inner Circle to learn more, or join my agency to learn more. There are links at the top. I will tell you guys, a really good source for Facebook training for final expense leads. First of all, completely watch the rest of this video first. Then, not any sooner, navigate to Final Expense Leaders as a YouTube channel. Subscribe to them. They're friends in the business. I don't make any money referencing, but they have really good Facebook lead training. I've taken the course. It's easy to understand. It's not complicated. And it's almost done for you. So they tell you what to say, what images to put in, how to set it up. It's really good. You do have to buy their course. However, they've got a ton of it for free online on their YouTube channel. So go there. Check that out first. But only after this is done. Okay. Your Trucking Solutions. Hey, what's up? A lot of my mortgage protection leads are 60 years old and older. I assume I'll need final expense carriers to work with. I think this is you. Is this you, Scott? It's almost the same question. Watch earlier Your Trucking Solutions. I completely went over that. You may have not been on the line, or maybe that was you. Either way, check that out because rewind like 20 minutes where I was last on the line. Pay attention to that because that's going to answer your question for sure. But yes, you're going to need to get final expense carriers for sure. Okay, Ronald says, what are the 3 top reasons potential clients will not buy a policy? That's a good question. No need, no desire, and no bank account, I would say. Now, these are final expense. If it's not final expense, no need, no want. Or not well explained enough need, not well explained enough want. It's arguable that people have a need, but they don't care enough yet. So you got to develop urgency and desire in it. So those are really, it always comes down to the same thing. It's just people don't want to come up with the money. The lack of money budget objection, it's sometimes an issue in final expense. In most other regards, it's not an issue. It's a smoke screen that they're not sold on the product. that they can delay longer before buying it. So what that usually means, guys, especially if you sell something that's not even final expense, but what it really means is that you're not developing enough urgency and why it's important today to buy life insurance, or you're not developing enough trust and rapport. Probably both. Okay, so it's an indication that you need to do a better job selling, asking really good open-ended questions to delve into the mind of your prospect to see what makes them tick and to motivate them to reach into their back pocket and hand you their money. Case in point, I had an agent who is new. He has a client who is young, has no family, made $600,000 last year flipping homes, has a couple million in home assets, and he wants enough just to cover his mortgage, like $2 million or whatever. I told him, I said, dude, you need to sell. You need to go for the big bucks. You need to sell at least $10 million in term. And I told him why, and I said, because you got to replace his income and cover his house when he passes away, so they're free and clear for his family as as an estate. And I told him, he doesn't have a family, he told me, but I said, you got to sell him on all this stuff. Like, even though he doesn't, he probably will one day, making that kind of money. He's going to have someone hanging around and probably have kids. So, and he's healthy today, but he might not be tomorrow. And so how do you motivate somebody to hand over a huge premium? Well, you got to ask them questions like, have you ever dealt with death before? Have you ever seen somebody who's suddenly turned ill? What was it like? What was the experience? What happens if you die and you have a family? How would you feel if you had a wife and kids? Do you think you'll get married and have kids one day? And set the guy up in an ethical way, of course, and get them to believe that the importance to buy now outweighs the expense to pay for the premium. Okay, I'm going to go back to asking some calls on the air here. 5-star raises your hand. If you'd like to get on the conference call, note in the description box on the YouTube video. Just call that number, put in the 6-digit code, and then press 5-star. So I got one here. It's 1446. You are unmuted. Please state your name and question. 1446. Can you hear me? 951 area code 1446. Yeah.
Hey,
hey.
That's me again, but you already answered my question. I did not.
Oh, Scott. I'm sorry. Okay, let me put you back off. Thanks. All right, we'll go right down the list. 8619. 8619. You are on the air with Dave. How can I help you?
Yep. Hi, I'm Janet. I'm in New York.
Hey, Janet.
And I've been doing final expense for 5+ years now, and I'm working primarily Facebook leads. Okay. And what I'm finding is that I really like to do seminar marketing, and I made some foam boards off of a PowerPoint presentation, and so I invested some pretty good money into it, and so I'm doing my own presentations now and setting myself up with between 2 and 3 seminars a week. I really like it. I'm trying to get better at it. The biggest challenge that I'm having is the responses, getting people to respond. I would like to get them all lined up after the meeting, but it's just not happening that way.
Get in line and write them up. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I want to get them all lined up and ready to go. But what I've been doing is passing out forms and inviting them to answer some questions on the form. And the questions are, would you like a free memorial guidebook? Do you need help making a will? Do you want more information today or later? So those are some of the questions that are on there, and it gives people an opportunity to give me their name and their phone number so that I can call them back. So people are more likely, I'm finding, to call me back, or I have to call them back in most cases.
Sure.
And then sometimes what happens when I call them back, they're like, oh, you know what, I found out everything I needed to know, so I'm all set now. And I don't get the appointment after all.
Okay.
What can I do, first of all, to get them lined up where I can close some deals that day? And number 2, what can I do to improve my response rate so that when I do call, I've got, a good handful of names of people that are saying, yeah, come on over.
Right. Okay. So a couple things here. And understand my background is I used to do this. I did this about a year full time. I traveled in a 5-hour radius doing seminars exclusive. I've got a system to teach agents how to do this. What I do and I like to do with seminars is I believe that seminars are essentially, it comes down to how well you want to qualify the lead. What I determine after doing like 80 of these is I just want to talk to the people who are ready to buy now. Maybe not today now, but tomorrow now too. So the questions I would ask on the lead form were, click here if you're interested in learning more about how to get a life insurance policy, or you'd like a review of your current policy. And then I'd have something below that that would say, checkbox no if you're not interested. Okay, so I would only be looking for people who expressed plain interest in owning life insurance. Okay, and when I was in front of the audience, I would say, hey guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Before we go, we're going to draw for this $20 gift card. Of course, what I hand them to fill out the drawing card, that's my lead card. And I would say, look, you got to fill this out entirely today. If you skip anything and I pull your name, you get thrown out. Okay. So that encourages everybody to fill it out. Yeah. And then second of all, I'll say, you'll notice it. I mean, I found that you have to babysit these people and walk them through every line. I said, you'll notice at the bottom of the card, there's 2 questions. I need an answer to one or the other. If you're interested in talking to me about life insurance, click the yes button or the yes box. If you're not, circle the other one. That way I won't harass you. Don't worry. But I need to know one or the other. So, yeah, you know what I mean. So we draw. I thank them for the time. And I'd say, by the way, before everybody's done, if you said, yes, you're interested to talk to me about insurance, here's what I need you to do today. It's very important you listen to me. I am going to sit over here in the corner at this table. I want you to walk up to me before you go away and let me know if you're interested. We can talk now or we can talk later. Here's the thing, and this is what you need to start doing. I'm only here for today. If you are serious about this, if anything I've said to you has perked your interest and you want to see what your options are, and you checkbox this card yes, come talk to me now. I need to know now. Otherwise, look, I've got to do all sorts of seminars. I'm all over the state, and I probably will miss you. And so when you put a line in the sand, an ultimatum, if you will find that people who are interested, that pushes them over because it's a takeaway. Okay, if you're taking away the opportunity to buy today, even if they're kind of halfway interested, it draws them closer to you. Okay, so those are the 2 things I would do.
All right, so to expand on that, so I've got people lined up now. Hopefully I've got people lined up. What are the chances that somebody's going to say, well, listen, I don't really want to talk to you in front of all these people that are waiting?
Great. Let's go ahead and set a time in an hour, and I'll just come up to your room, okay? And just assume the close.
Okay.
Don't ask them if you can. Just say, hey, cool, I can come up in an hour, or would, at 2 o'clock be better? It's just like setting a normal appointment.
Okay.
Give them 2 options, a yes or a yes. And encourage a today appointment. If they can't do today and you've worked them hard for it, say, okay, I can come back tomorrow if this is something you're serious about. Why don't we do 10 then? Set it for tomorrow if you have to.
Okay. So I can make an exception.
Yes. Now we're thinking. That's the kind of language I like to hear.
Yeah.
I'll make an exception for you.
Yeah. So the biggest thing then is that when people do come up to you and say, yeah, I am interested in talking to you, and I'm wondering, like, for example, maybe somebody says, you know what, I've got an insurance policy already, and I want to keep it. I've had it a long time, and I just want somebody to look it over for me. If I go get it right now, can you look at it? They're trying to get information from you right now so that they don't have to sit down belly up with you. How do you handle that so that you don't get trapped into their control?
Yeah, I would say, look, I would be doing you a disservice, Mr. Prospect, if I told you some random number because I just don't know what you can qualify for. There's so many different factors. All it takes is 5 minutes just for me to ask you a few questions, see what this is about, and then you can decide if you want to take it or not. There's no hard feelings if you don't. So how would 2 o'clock later?
Right.
You got 5-10 minutes now. So yeah, I would just deflect it,
Right.
and that's the God honest truth. I mean, like, it takes time
Right.
to ask the health questions, to ask what they want, what coverage they have, what prescriptions they take. You can't, if you throw a number out there, you are disservicing them because it's representative of nothing.
Yep.
There's no facts behind it. So, and I just tell them that. And if they have a problem with that, then screw them. They're just being jerks and pushy, and fine. Just take it away from them. And trust me, they'll want it if they really do. You know what I mean? Most people who want something are going to follow your lead. They just want to do what you say.
Right.
So people who kind of front like that, they're full of crap. Just push them away. That's what I do.
Yep. Have you had people approach you and say, well, what companies do you represent exactly? I don't feel comfortable throwing out all the names of the insurance companies that I represent. I just don't think that it's necessary.
I say, have you heard of Mutual of Omaha or Gerber? Yeah, that's one those are 2 I represent. I also represent a bunch of others. And the reason I do that is to shop around to try to find you the best combination of price or coverage. So if you represent multiple companies, then I do that just to show them why it's important that I do and what I'm trying. And I wrap it back into a benefit, a point, being I can save you money, right? So, or get you a good value.
Right.
But yeah, I don't go through a list. Now it's a good sales strategy. Some people they'll print out on a sheet. They'll take all the icons of the insurance companies they represent and put it on like one page and say, here's all the companies I represent. I just work through these to figure out what deal's best for you. So, it's all in the timing, but use a question like that to turn it into an opportunity for an appointment, right? What companies do you represent?
Right.
Oh, I represent a lot, like Mutual Omaha, Gerber. You've heard of them. I'd love to show you how these work, and then you can kind of see what it's about and decide if it makes sense for you or not. How's Tuesday at 2 or 10 work? So use that as an opportunity to close.
Okay. Yeah, like there's the one situation that I have here in New York is that I have Mutual of Omaha's pulled out, so we don't have any life with them, and I'm not writing. I used to write with Trans, but I can't right now. This is another situation I can't discuss. And then I have Foresters. So, and I'm like tied with just those, Gerber and Foresters. I can do CFG too, Columbia Mutual, but I don't make as much money off of them. And there's a 70% cap in New York about what you can earn from insurance companies.
Sure.
So 70% advances, that's it.
Right.
9-month advance. Yeah, so I'm really limited as to what I can offer, but hey, it is what it is in New York,
That's right. Yeah, New York is a special place. Hey, I'm going to move on to the next call just because we're under the time crunch here. So last call I'm going to take tonight. I'm going to answer your questions in the chat. So if you want to load up on the questions in the chat, go for it. This one is from 1446. You are on air live with me. Please state your name and question, please.
Hey, Dave. This is Scott again.
Hey, Scott. What's up, man?
Hey,
set some more appointments.
I know there's a way to submit bid. Yeah, not yet. The rest of my calls happen in about another hour.
Good.
Most people want me to call them after 5.
Okay.
Yeah, but how do I get appointed quickly with these final expense carriers? Because I have, like I said, about 9 or 10 that are older, and I don't want them to get cold while I'm waiting to get appointed. So can I submit business at the same time?
Why don't you focus on Liberty Bankers Life? They're just-in-time contracting. Okay. So you can actually call the number. If you look on my training website under carriers, you'll see Liberty Bankers Life. All the documents are there, but they're a telesales company, not telesales. They're a tele-application process, so you do it all over the phone. And if you pull it up, you can do the worksheet and then call it in even before you get your writing number. In fact, they won't appoint you till you write your first case. So I would focus on using them first. And they're pretty well balanced.
Okay.
I think for what you're going to run into, they'd be fine.
All right, that's what I needed to know. You got a number 2 on that by chance? Like
a second company?
Yeah.
Go guys in the chat, if you want to add some carriers that are just-in-time contracting, but Prosperity Life is one. They're SUSA on contracting. Let me see if I can pull it up on my screen here.
Okay.
That's a number 2. Let me see if I got another one that I'd prefer. I'm just going off of memory here. Hold on one second. It's probably about it. I would do Liberty Bankers and then Prosperity Life. SUSA Insurance Bay is how you find them. And if you email me a reminder, I'll send you over like a California app, and just have that handy, and you can write that.
Perfect. What was that? You said Prosperity, and then what was the last one? US.
Oh, no. On Insurance Bay, it's listed as SUSA, but when you select that gives you Prosperity Life. So don't look for Prosperity Life when you look for contracting. Look for SUSA.
Gotcha. All right. Perfect.
All right,
thank you.
Good luck. See ya. All right, back to the chat here. So let's clean up the chat before we call it a day. All right. That's okay, Andrew. No problem. Hey, Yolanda, what's up? If you only had $1,500 to pour into leads, what type would you recommend first, or a mix of lead types? I would recommend, if you only had $1,500, that's a good question. $1,500 is going to buy you about 40 direct mail pieces, or it could buy you 100 Facebook leads. I'm almost inclined to say Facebook leads, okay? Just because out of 100 Facebook leads to cover your investment will be approximately 3 to 4 final expense cases. That's a 4% closing ratio. You should be able to do that. It's probably more likely if you really work the Facebook leads hard, you're probably going to sell 10, 15, maybe 20% of them. So there's a pretty high net that comes out of them if you do your job and work hard and see the people. So I'm inclined towards Facebook leads. I'm doing more Facebook lead recommendations now to new agents that come on board. They do a really good job. I got a great vendor. And if you can't do 20, 25 direct mail leads a week, doing 20 to 30 Facebook leads is not a bad idea. Hey, Chepper, what's up? How can I tactfully ask the prospect to bring a checkbook when the meeting's somewhere other than home? Just say, hey, look, if this is something you want to do, I don't need your money, but make sure that you bring your banking information, because I don't need the money today, but we'll set it up later. However, I think the real concern is why aren't they meeting you at their house, and as opposed to somewhere else? I don't know about you. I have like I have a complete 0 close ratio for meeting people in public. It's always been a travesty. They don't show up 80% of the time. So you might have somebody just trying to scoot away from commitment. Grannon says, I found that door knocking workers' protection is a put off for many people. A lot of those folks are professionals. Yeah, I agree. It's different. It's a different animal. It really is. They're more middle class. They're more anal about random people showing up. They're not like our final expense prospects that really have grown up with people knocking their doors. Door knocking is old-fashioned prospecting. A lot of these people remember their grandmas getting the insurance man every month to collect the premiums. So when you show up and do the same thing, it's not a far-fetched idea, but it doesn't mean it can't work. That's why I prefer to do appointment setting over the phone to see the people later for mortgage protection. That definitely works. Hey, glad to like it, Metamorphosis. Very good. Any lead company for final expense whole life? Needalead.com is great. I send agents there all the time. Fixed price leads, especially if you're in Southeast, California, Texas, and really anywhere. Most of us need a fixed price to know what we're exactly going to pay to the penny for the lead. Cost control, very important. Chris White says, what would be a good final expense question for a client that is on the fence after a presentation? Now's the time to take care of this. Which option works best for you? Something like that. So, a guy who's on the fence, it doesn't really happen that way, I guess that's what I'm saying. What you see a lot when you get out in the field and sell this stuff is you see deception. I need to think about it. Let me pray on it. If you get objections, that's what you're going to hear. So my strategy is to overcome those objections. So I teach agents what questions to ask up front to eliminate those objections and that kind of deceit, okay, that sleight of hand that some people pull. So that when you get to the close, there's nothing left to object to because you've overcome it all, okay? But a lot of the times there's, the human interaction, people just aren't honest. They're not going to say, well, I'm really sold on this, but I just don't have the money. They're going to say something like, well, let me think about it. And you got to get them to a point where they're comfortable sharing something that may offend you. So there's a whole litany of objection handling techniques in order to allow people to let out what their interest is and why they're held up and how we can come to a compromise and make it a win-win deal. Dave, thank you. Thumbs way up. Marty says, David, what is your thought about thank you cards for both yay and nay appointments and some freebies like a magnet for client? Yes, if you want to send thank you cards to clients, go for it. There's a lot of people that do it, and it's a great idea. These people we sell to, especially final expense, they don't get thank you cards, okay? So you're going to do a real treat. They will remember you, and yes, you will. If you keep up with it, just like anything else, you'll start to see the benefits of referrals, that kind of thing, more consistently than one that doesn't. I wouldn't send them to the nay appointments, especially if they're on the fence and weren't honest. Maybe somebody who was almost sold, but you couldn't close them. Give it a shot. I'd stopped sending thank you notes after about 6, 12 months. I just didn't see a reason to. I don't know. I'm pretty good at one thing, and that's being super active and making presentations and selling. But after that, it all falls apart. I need other people to do the work for me. If I need to hire somebody to do all this stuff, because that's a different, it's just not in me to do that stuff. But it does help. I'm not saying it won't. All right. Hey, Daisy, what's up? You're welcome, Metamorphosis. Alexander says, what is your take on appointment setters and how do you pay them? Appointment setters. Some love them. Some prefer to set them themselves. I've always used an appointment setter in the field. I don't like calling on the phone. I'd rather pay somebody else to do it. And my logical justification of it is I get to do more appointments. I'd rather pay someone $300-$400 a week to set me up with 30 or 40 appointments than sit down at night, like right now, call and be away from my family. So it's a low-cost, highly effective outsourcing option is how I look at it. And I think it's a good thing to do. If you can find a good one, that's always the rub. If you're not getting a lot of leads, don't worry about doing appointment setting. Don't worry about outsourcing it. If you don't have 25, 30 plus leads, you really can door knock all these and you'll get better results door knocking. It's a different skill set to outsource it. And people that you hire to set appointments for you, look, they're not going to ever be as good as you, even if you're just mediocre. Inner Circle is good to get. Thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you for the plug. Checks in the mail. Let's see here. Dave is doing his thing. Yes, sir. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, man? Yes, that was Final Expense Leaders. Clyde Gray. Put them in after the end of this show, not any time before. Chris says, always did seminars with another agent to help roll the talk into the app. Did you really? I never did that. I want all that money myself. I don't want to share it. There wasn't ever enough of it anyway. I mean, if you're writing 5, 10 policies, maybe get somebody to split the deal with you. But my seminars, I do if I do 1 or 2, that's my average. Certainly I've done more than that. I've had busts too. But if you follow what I do, you can transition right into seeing people right away. How do you track your sales? Do you have a spreadsheet or do you recommend an app? I would track it using the old-fashioned. I got some old videos from about 2 years ago where you can see just a spreadsheet, and I just did tally marks, just a rudimentary basic system to track things and see how things are going. You can certainly do Excel. If you guys know of any CRMs, please feel free to share them. There's been some guys that have tried to make something out of it that never made it. I don't know of any off the top of my head that are good for tracking production. It's one thing to track clients, but production, kind of another thing. Forrester's is just in time. Okay, great. Thomas says, Liberty Bankers Life. Did not catch the first one you said. Prosperity Life, I think. Gracias, you're welcome. Tina says, really great show, Dave. Really great show, as Ed Sullivan would say. I'm dating myself. Okay, great. Lisa says, who do you recommend for Facebook leads? Let's see. email me if you guys are interested in learning what vendor I use, just because I don't know the exact website. It's long. Go to davidduford.com, click contact. Send me a message, say, Dave, send me the Facebook lead vendor. You don't have to work with me to get them. I'd love your business, of course. That's why I do this stuff, right? So I can recruit you and get all your contracts. Contact me if you're interested. But hey, if you don't, that's fine. I'll be happy to help build my treasures in heaven. And if you email me, I promise I won't try to recruit you too hard. But I will tell you which vendor I use and just give you the direct link. You can place an order. They fill in a day or two as well. Chris says, if you join the Inner Circle, Dave shows you how to make your own Facebook leads. Yes. I will say, however, the final expense leaders do a much better job at it. That was training back from a year or two ago. It will get the job done. I'll at least get an ad out. But the one thing final expense leaders does is they tell you how to split test deals, figure out which ad performs better, how to scale it up, kill the ones that suck. There's better, more comprehensive training than what I do. And no, I don't make any money saying this. It's just a better deal. So why not help you guys out? What if you door knock and the occupant is cat lady? Were you not here for the earlier calls, Francine? There was a house that had 300 of these stuck in the doorway and on the toilets. Place does not look safe. Do you reschedule? I'm cool with the cat lady, unless you're allergic and you're going to go into some sort of, shock for the cat hairs. I would just say, hey, I'm allergic to cats. You mind if we sit outside? They'd be all right with that. If it doesn't look safe, don't do it, all right? So like with me, dogs are what bother me. I've been bit 3 times doing this, all by little chihuahuas. I've had close calls with pit bulls, right into family jewels. It could have been close. My little baby may not have been here if that dog decided to bite hard or to bite at all. Thank God it didn't bite at all. And then one other country dog that just looked like Cujo. But what I would recommend is if you don't feel comfortable, don't do this. All right? Look, there's always plenty of other prospects. Call them up, roll up to their house, lay on the horn a couple of times, let them come out there, yell at them, and see if they're interested. Or just call them up and set an appointment. Call them 2 or 3 times in the driveway. You ain't got nothing to lose because you're not going to do it anyway if you feel uncomfortable. But don't put yourself in impending doom or danger. What do you think about delivery notices, or do you think it just pisses them off? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Sales pisses people off. Prospecting, door knocking pisses people off. This is just another thing that possibly will add to the list of things that make salespeople annoying. But, however, we don't care what the people think that don't buy from us. We care about the people what they think that do buy from us. And trust me, if you have a hard time of reaching somebody, and the only way you can get in front of them is with these little sticky notes, and you close them, and then they go croak on you within a period of time, you can rest assured that it was worth the annoyance of everybody else that you saw the entire day or the entire week or forever. You helped somebody that otherwise would have missed you if you didn't put out that little bait for them to pick up on. And you helped their family out. And I guarantee you, they will tell you, thank you so much for doing whatever you did to get in front of Mildred, our mom, to make sure that she was covered and she had a respectful, decent death. Always remember the good work that you do when you measure against what it does or how people think about them. Screw them. Who cares what they think? It's about the good that we do. That's what matters the most in this business. You're going to make people mad. In fact, 3 out of 4 people are going to tell you to go to hell. And if 1 out of 4 people buy from you, you're a stud in this business. You're going to have a great career in this business. So don't worry about the people who are negative, that say bad things, that piss you off, to tell you to go to hell. It's that minority that we're looking at that's going to... we're going to help. We're going to improve their lives, and we're going to do well by ourselves too. There's my pep talk. Susan, I've been trying to join the Inner Circle, but haven't get accepted yet. Help. I approved you the other day. I emailed you back, and I got it fixed. If you can't get in, email me back. I'll make it work. Hey, Clyde, what's up? What is the difference between direct mail and Facebook leads? Direct mail, I believe there's more intent, and there's a better quality of lead that comes through it. Just because people have spent time to fill out the card, put it back, walk it to the mailbox, put it back, and then talk to their spouse before they did. And they probably know what's going to happen because they've gotten these cards their whole life. Whereas Facebook, you're just casually scrolling through your news feed, wasting time, and you see this thing that looks interesting, and you submit your information. Half the time it's pre-filled out, so there's not a lot of work you have to do to send it in. So it's cheaper to develop a Facebook lead, but I think the quality isn't as good as a direct mail lead, which again, there's a lot more involvement, which means the intent typically is higher, which means it's a better chance that you're going to close them. How fast can I get to the 100% contract level? Immediately. I start agents at 100% to 110% to most contracts, which after 25,000 in production goes to 110 to 120. There's no quota to keep those contracts. I have higher levels if you recruit, and even higher levels if you produce a lot as an agency or as a high-level producer. Tina says, I think you don't know the Ed Sullivan TV show from the 60s. He always said that. Yeah, I'm 34. I grew up with singled out Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy. I'm sharing the joy of Ren and Stimpy with my 9-year-old son. He's going to have a really convoluted sense of humor like me. The Ed Sullivan show, I think of Elvis. Is that his name? I've heard that from somewhere. Elvis something? He was dancing on TV and it was scandalous. I don't know what the details are. That was like 80 years ago or something, right? Okay. Chris says, great show, Dave. Thanks for answering my questions. You got it, man. Robert Roberts. How you doing, Robert Roberts? How do I join your inner circle? You sent me an email, but I must have deleted it. Go to my website, and then there's a link at the top that says Insurance Agent Inner Circle. Click that, and then you'll see a video of me trying to sell you on it. Just ignore me, and then scroll to the bottom and click the buy button. I think it'll pop up right away. So let me make sure. I think we got everything. All right, hour and a half. That flew by. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I always enjoy talking to you guys, helping you out, helping you with questions, anything that goes with final expense, sales, insurance sales, marketing, the whole ball of wax. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. Again, the great thing about this business is how many people we can help. I help you to help other people. We help people in ways that other people only wish they could. Remember, guys, if you're out there struggling, you're frustrated in this business, remember, you're doing God's work, and I mean that. You, unlike Goldman Sachs, are improving the lives of people in a real way that so many people can't. If it's hard to imagine this, especially if you're new in this business, because right now you're just selling, it's a piece of paper, and you make money occasionally, you deal with a lot of crap. It's a tough ride, but I promise you, if you haven't experienced it yet, the beauty of this business is when your client dies and you see what happens to these pieces of paper that you write. They come alive. They've sat idle for years in many cases, and they relieve and give peace of mind in a way that very few types of products can. I remember one client I wrote she lived in a government housing unit in Somerville, Georgia. I wrote her up and her fiance. They were going to get married. They're in their late 50s, early 60s. He worked as a diesel mechanic and just had COPD and smoke. That's all he had. Got him first day full coverage with Transamerica. Super stoked. So his wife calls me a year and a half later and says, my husband's dead, or fiance's dead. He had a colonoscopy and they punctured his colon. And he internally bled, got septic, died. The doctor screwed up. And he's dead. He didn't die from the COPD. And all she had was $9,000. It was a contested claim. That means that within 2 years, even his first day full coverage, that as long as, the company has a right to question the claim, make sure everything was done as it should have been. And if it goes through, it gets paid. So the beauty is, at the end of the day, what happened is that the policy paid. And had she bought from these captive companies, or if I approved him with these captive companies, if he had bought from Colonial Penn, MetLife, these companies that make 2-year waiting period policies or don't approve COPD, he would have gotten nothing but his money back. And what was sad was that his family screwed her over. They took all of his mechanic tools, like worth a lot of money. They made her pay. They paid for the funeral, but they took all of his stuff. She was left with nothing. And her final laugh was when she got the $9,000 check from Transamerica, and she wasn't going to give a dime to her fiance's family who screwed her over. But it helped. It was a godsend. And these are normal stories if you stay in this business long enough. So I encourage you, If you're struggling, take it from me. I failed out of this business. Please keep trying. Please see the people. That's what it comes down to. Fight hard, see the people. Somebody tells you no, you're that much closer to yes. Do good work. I promise you, all this work you're doing on the front end will pay off in the long run. I'm a living testament of it. So that is all I have to say. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I really enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time, next month, first Tuesday of the month. I might be in my new house by then. New office, new everything. So we'll see you then. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again.